As usual, Roman sat in his chair with a beer in his hand, eyes glued to the big screen TV showing a baseball game. After dinner, Ella went upstairs. Roman had no idea what she was doing, and honestly, he didn't care. To him, it was just another typical evening at home. But just before 7, the doorbell rang. As Roman got up, Ella called out from upstairs, "Roman, please get the door." Of course, Roman was already on his way. He walked to the door and opened it, finding himself face to face with a well-dressed man he had never seen before. "Yes, can I help you?" Roman asked, his curiosity piqued. "I hope you're not selling anything?" "No, I'm here to pick up Ella," the man replied. "For what?" Roman asked, eyebrows raised in confusion. "We're on a date," the man said nonchalantly. Roman's eyes widened in shock. "You and my wife Ella are on a date?" "Yes," the man confirmed. Roman stood frozen for a moment, trying to process the situation. "I'll call her," he finally managed to say. He walked to the foot of the stairs and shouted, "Ella, your date is here!" Did he expect her to deny it? To say it wasn't a real date? Instead, Ella called back, "Tell him I'll be right down." Roman just stood there, bewildered, as Ella descended the stairs. She was wearing a short evening dress, showing off a plunging neckline and a lot of makeup. "Ella, what the hell is going on?" Roman demanded. "I'm going on a date," she replied matter-of-factly. "Married women don't go on dates with anyone but their husbands," Roman retorted. "I'm sick of spending my evenings watching you drink beer and watch sports," Ella shot back. "The most exciting thing you do is burp or fart, and you don't even apologize for that. When was the last time we did something fun together? If you can't give me attention or a little excitement, I'll find someone who can." She punctuated her words with a jab of her finger to his chest. "Don't wait up for me. If I'm lucky, I might not be back until morning." With that, she turned on her heel, slamming the door behind her. Ella got into the waiting car and told the driver to go. As soon as they pulled away, she burst into laughter. "I wish I had a picture of his face. It was priceless. If that doesn't shake him out of his sloth-like state, I don't know what will." "Don't you think it might make him angry and make things worse?" the driver asked. "I doubt it. He'll probably just sit there wondering what happened. I'll be back before he gets too upset. I don't think he'll be quick to divorce, but I'm willing to take the risk. Maybe I shouldn't have said I might not come back until morning, but it's too late now. Honestly, with the way our marriage is going, I'd rather get divorced than keep this up. Damn him. I love that idiot, but I wish he cared more about me and us. Let's drive around the block and come back to see how he's doing." After driving around the block, Ella and her date pulled into the driveway and parked. Roman didn't run out into the street as she had hoped. She entered the house, noticing the TV was still on, but Roman was nowhere to be seen. She quickly checked the first floor and then went upstairs. Not finding him there either, she called his cell phone and heard it ringing nearby. Ella ran over and saw Roman's cell phone on the nightstand. Next to it lay his wedding ring, a sight that sent a chill down her spine. She quickly scanned the room and noticed several of his personal items were missing. Panic surged through her. "Shit!" Ella muttered under her breath as she sprinted downstairs to tell her friend what had happened. She also needed to check if Roman's car was still in the garage. It wasn't. The car was gone. "Where do you think he went?" her friend asked, a mix of concern and curiosity in his voice. "He's probably at a bar, drowning his sorrows," Ella replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "Worst case scenario, he might spend the night at a motel. I imagine he's sulking like a little kid. He'll pay for it when he gets back and forgets my joke. On the other hand, his leaving might be for the best. If he feels bad about making me go to such lengths to motivate him, I don't mind him continuing to feel bad for a little while longer." Roman didn't call back that evening or the next morning. The silence stretched into the next day, and when Ella could stand it no longer, she decided to call Roman's personal secretary well before he was due back from lunch. "Barbara, please put me through to my husband," Ella demanded, her voice tinged with desperation. "It's not working, Ella. What the hell is going on?" Barbara's voice was filled with confusion. "Roman came in this morning, staggering, and told me to shut up and listen. He said he's taking the day off because he has a lot of personal business to take care of. Then he asked who handles our company's health insurance. I gave him the name of the girl in HR who handles it. He left without saying a word of thanks or anything. That doesn't sound like Roman at all. Do you know what happened to him? Did someone close to him die or something? I am what happened to him, Ella confessed, frustration seeping into her tone. I used a trick that didn't work. When I talk to him and kiss his ass, hopefully he'll come around. Now, could you transfer me to that girl in human resources? Sure, Barbara responded, a hint of skepticism in her voice. Human resources, Rhonda. I'd like to speak to Sylvia, please. Sylvia's currently in orientation with a new employee. Is there anyone else who can help you? Rhonda asked. Can anyone tell me what Roman Strickland was doing in your HR department today? Ella pressed, her patience wearing thin. I can look at his file, but I need his permission to give you any information, Rhonda replied, her tone professional. I'm his wife. Is there anything you can tell me? Ella insisted. I can look up your insurance on his policy. Hold on, Rhonda said. After a brief pause, she continued. It's a coincidence. We were supposed to contact you today anyway. You should receive an official notice in the mail that you are no longer covered under your husband's health insurance. You can keep the insurance for 180 days before it expires if you pay off the debt. That's the only thing he changed. Stunned, Ella just sobbed, muttering a quick thank you before hanging up. Why did Roman drop me from his health insurance? She wondered aloud. And then it hit her. She immediately went to her computer to check their online bank accounts. Half the money had been withdrawn from their checking and savings accounts. Hell, he's in the process of divorcing me, she realized, her mind reeling. Ella couldn't decide what to do next. She thought for a moment, her mind racing, until the phone rang. It was Larry, their life insurance agent and a family friend. Hello, Larry, Ella answered, trying to steady her voice. Ella, can you tell me what the hell is going on? Roman came here, canceled the automatic payment on your insurance, and changed the beneficiary to the girls. No money should go to you. Also, the funds automatically withdrawn for the life insurance payout have been transferred to a new account. He said he was sure that's the way he wanted it to be. I'll have to send you a formal notice of the change of beneficiary and the termination of the life insurance benefits. I'm sorry. I guess you two must be estranged. Ella, I'm so sorry. Please come see me as soon as possible so your life insurance doesn't expire. Am I right in thinking you're getting a divorce? Yes, thank you, Ella managed to reply, her voice barely above a whisper. There's nothing more I can tell you, but you really haven't told me anything, Larry said, sounding frustrated. Ella hung up, feeling even more lost and overwhelmed. 2 minutes later, their lawyer, neighbor, and friend Doug called. Ella answered, her voice trembling. Hello? Ella, it's Doug. Can you tell me what the hell is going on? Roman came here and changed his will so that the kids get everything and you get nothing. He also took you off the list of people who can be his medical assistant. He refused to tell me the reason and said he didn't care if I told you or not. He then asked me for a referral to a family lawyer. I'm assuming that you two are having some serious problems and are thinking about divorce. Look, I can always change things if you two get back together. I'm sorry this is happening. Marilyn and I think very highly of both of you. I have to run, but I wish you both the best, Ella replied weakly, her mind spinning. The next call was from their twin daughters who were in college together. Mom, what the hell is going on? One of them asked, panic evident in her voice. Dad called us, ranting about you. He said you were dating and having sex with other men. Then he told us he was going to be gone for a while so he could date other women before the divorce. He said he had taken care of our future college expenses. We tried to ask questions, but he ignored us. He told us to remember that he loved us and hung up. Mom, we're afraid Dad's going to hurt himself. Can you tell us what happened to make him so depressed? I'm the idiot who drove him to depression, and I'm trying to find him to apologize. The problem is I can't find him. Maybe I can try. Hey, I got another call. Maybe it's him. I'll call you back, Ella said, her heart aching. Hello, Roman, she answered, hoping it was him. No, it's your mother-in-law, Doris. What the hell is going on? My son called me crying like a baby. He said something about you sleeping with a bunch of men at some nightclub. He sounded drunk, so I wasn't sure how much of his story was true. All I know is that he was very depressed. Anyway, he said he was going to solve the problem by giving you your freedom. The worst part was that he thanked me and his father for raising him right. He then apologized for betraying his upbringing by letting us down. He said goodbye. I didn't like his tone. He hung up before we could ask any more questions. When we called him back, he didn't pick up. Ella, I'm afraid he might do something stupid. What happened between you two? I was trying to get Roman to leave his rut and enjoy life with his wife, Ella confessed, her voice cracking with emotion. I decided to do something drastic to shake him out of his depression. I pretended to go on a date with another man. I was out of the house for 10 minutes, just 10 lousy minutes. When I came back, he was gone. Today, I found out he's done things that look like he's planning to divorce me. I'm trying to find him to stop this madness, but I can't reach him. So it's your fault that my son is on the verge of doing something terrible. Let me tell you something. If he dies, I will hold you personally responsible, Doris snapped before hanging up. Ella stood there, feeling the weight of Doris's words crushing her. She couldn't think straight. Desperation kicked in, and she began calling all the local hotels and motels, but none of them had Roman listed as a guest. She called the police and tried to file a missing person report, explaining she feared he might commit suicide. Unfortunately, they told her she would have to wait another day before officially reporting him missing. Feeling utterly defeated, Ella took a sleeping pill to help her get through the night, though the thought of suicide if Roman died loomed in the back of her mind. She knew the code to the safe where Roman kept an automatic pistol and ammunition. The thought haunted her as she drifted into a restless sleep. The next morning, still groggy from the pill, Ella turned on the television. The local news station was broadcasting a live report from Bender's Curve, a notorious accident site. "This is Lamar Jackson with TV3 News," the reporter began. "It looks like Bender's Curve claimed another victim or victims last night. We have Sergeant Cantor with us from the state police. Sergeant Cantor, can you tell us exactly what happened?" "It appears the car went off the cliff, crashing through the strongest part of the barriers," Sergeant Cantor explained. "The driver was either extremely unlucky or intentionally went over the edge. Given the lack of brake marks, it's possible the driver lost consciousness, was under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or may have committed suicide." "How did you learn about the accident?" Lamar asked. "We were alerted by a driver heading in the opposite direction," Sergeant Cantor replied. "He's here now." The camera panned to a young man standing nearby. The reporter approached him. "Young man, what's your name?" "I'm Sean Carpenter. Am I on TV? Hi, Mom," Sean said, grinning broadly. "Sean, tell us what you saw," the reporter continued. "I was driving home and saw a big truck coming my way. It swerved a bit, then suddenly veered into my lane. I slammed on the brakes, and it swerved right really fast, hit the guardrail, and went off the cliff." "Can you describe the truck?" the reporter asked. "Sure, it was a red Ford F-150, probably a late 90s model. It had a Western Kentucky Mountain Man sticker on the rear window." "Did you see who was driving?" "No, the headlights were on, and I only caught a glimpse of the driver. He looked like a man, but that's all I saw," Sean said, still visibly shaken. Ella's heart sank as she listened, fear gripping her like a vice. She clutched her phone, dreading the possibility that the driver could be Roman. "There were no signs of passengers. That's all I know," Sean concluded, looking somber. "Thank you, Sergeant Cantor," the reporter continued. "Did you call for help to find the truck that crashed into the guardrail?" "We don't know exactly what hit the fence," Sergeant Cantor replied. "We're assuming it was a truck based on Mr. Carpenter's account. It's impossible to see what it is from here. We have a search and rescue team in the mountains, but they're currently conducting efforts in another part of the state. I don't know when they'll be able to get down there and check it out." "But what if someone out there is still alive and needs medical attention?" the reporter pressed. "Then you would be witnessing a real miracle. No normal person could survive a fall like that on those rocks. I would not risk the lives of those who are not qualified to go on an expedition just to find out. All we can do is wait for the mountain rescuers." Ella didn't need to wait to guess what had happened and who had died. She started crying as soon as they mentioned a red Ford F-150 with a WKU Hilltopper sticker. She ignored the ringing phone, her sobs filling the silence of the room. She had been crying alone for 3 hours when the twins showed up. When she didn't answer the phone, they got worried and rushed home to be with her. They had received a call from their grandmother, informing them about the news report on TV about a red F-150. Despite the lack of a body, they were almost certain it was their father who had crashed. The older twin answered her mother's phone and handed it to her. The name of the law firm was displayed on the caller ID. "Hello, this is Ella Strickland," she said, barely able to get the words out through her choked sobs. "Mrs. Strickland, my name is Chris Andrews. I'm an attorney in the same office where your friend Doug works. Your husband hired me to represent him in his divorce proceedings. I probably shouldn't have called you, but Doug talked me into it. I was contacted by the Riverton Police Department in Caldwell County. They were called to the scene of a robbery. The defendant suffered a head injury, and his wallet and keys were stolen. He was taken to the emergency room and soon underwent surgery. The unidentified man was put into a coma to relieve pressure on his brain. The only thing he had on him was a motel room key. He was traced to Roman Strickland. Among the papers in his hotel room was a copy of the divorce agreement that put me in charge of his divorce proceedings. That's why they called me. Your husband put me in charge of the divorce case because he did not want you to have any direct dealings with him. I have to tell you that you are not allowed to see him in the hospital. I base this decision on very clear verbal instructions given to me by Mr. Strickland regarding his relationship with you. Your children may, however, visit him, but I have the right to decide whether to allow them." "What? He's my husband. Of course I can see him," Ella protested, her voice rising in disbelief. "I'm sorry, but the mandate he signed gives me, and only me, the right to make decisions regarding the divorce, as well as his medical care. I have to follow his last verbal instructions," Chris explained calmly. Ella felt a wave of helplessness wash over her. The room spun, and she clutched the phone tighter, trying to hold on to some semblance of control. Her world was unraveling, and she didn't know how to stop it. "If you want to hire an attorney to fight this, act immediately," Chris advised, his tone firm yet sympathetic. "Wait, weren't the divorce proceedings canceled because of his condition?" Ella asked, clinging to a sliver of hope. "No, ma'am. I was given clear instructions to pursue the divorce no matter what, although I don't think he foresaw being robbed," Chris replied. "So, does that mean all the financial, insurance, and benefit arrangements he made won't be reversed?" Ella inquired, desperation creeping into her voice. "Yes, ma'am. They have all been carried out by him, and at this point, I see no evidence that he wants to undo them," Chris confirmed. "Of course there's no such evidence. He's in a coma. This is ridiculous. I tricked my husband into believing I was going on a date with another man. When I went back to tell him it was a joke, he was already gone. He had gotten rid of his cell phone, so I couldn't tell him it was a joke. I have no reason for the divorce, and no reason for the actions he took regarding the joke," Ella explained, her frustration boiling over. "I mean no disrespect, but that is what you are saying now. I have to follow what Mr. Strickland instructed me to do and confirmed in writing. I have no other choice. I hate to tell you this, but tomorrow you will be delivered to work as Mr. Strickland requested. As soon as you find a lawyer, have him or her contact me to find out how to proceed," Chris stated matter-of-factly. "I don't care. He's my husband, and I'll see him if I want to," Ella retorted, her voice trembling with emotion. "I forgot to tell you that the envelope you will receive contains a restraining order directing you to stay at least 1,000 feet away from him. The petition he offered is very generous. He stated that he wants you to have a chance to meet the man you really want now," Chris added, almost apologetically. Ella shared the news with her daughters, the disbelief and heartbreak evident on their faces. Despite the legal barriers, Ella was determined to see Roman. She and the girls decided to go to the hospital no matter what. The drive didn't take long, but upon arrival, they were met with more obstacles. The hospital didn't have a copy of the restraining order, but due to COVID restrictions, visitors were not allowed for any patients. They were told that once Roman was transferred to the ICU, he would be able to receive visitors, but only one person for 10 minutes every 2 hours. Disappointed, Ella and her daughters returned home. By the time Roman was placed in the ICU, The restraining order was in place. Only one daughter could visit him, but it seemed pointless. Roman was unconscious, and if he understood anything, he couldn't respond. A few days later, the mountain search and rescue team located the truck. The assumption was that the robber was the dead man found behind the wheel. Roman's wallet was recovered, though several $100s of the $6,000 were missing. They also found several bottles of rare Kentucky bourbon, one of which was more than half empty. As time passed, Ella faced increasing financial difficulties. Roman had forgotten to deposit his paycheck, leaving her struggling to make ends meet. The couple's joint account, which paid the mortgage and other bills, was now out of Ella's reach. Desperate, Ella hired an attorney who petitioned the court to grant her access to half of the money left in the account. Finally, the day came to bring Roman out of his drug-induced coma and back to consciousness. When he woke up, he was disoriented and claimed he didn't know who he was. The diagnosis was temporary amnesia. Linda, one of the twins, brought pictures and shared memories in an effort to jog his memory, but all efforts were in vain. Roman didn't even recognize the attorney who had his power of attorney. In that state, he was not considered competent enough to lift the restraining order. When Roman came out of his coma, he was subjected to a memory test to determine the extent of his amnesia. Realizing what they were doing, he quickly decided to fake it. He was informed that his daughters wanted to see him. The first to visit was Carol, the other twin. He asked her, "Who are you?" "Daddy, I'm one of your daughters, Carol. You were attacked and went into a coma. We were waiting for you to wake up." "We?" he inquired, still confused. "Yeah, Linda, me and Mom, your wife." "I have a wife?" he asked, bewildered. "Yeah," Carol confirmed. "Why isn't she here?" Roman questioned. "She's not allowed to come. There's been a misunderstanding between you two, and she's got a restraining order," Carol explained. "My God, does she really want to hurt me?" Roman asked, his voice filled with concern. "No, Dad, she's no threat to you. You were very angry with her," Carol said, trying to calm him. "About what?" he probed further. "She pretended to go on a date with another man. Before she came back and said it was a joke, you left and started divorce proceedings. Now that you are awake, you can fix all of this." "How do I know she didn't actually go on a date?" Roman asked, skepticism creeping into his voice. "She says she didn't," Carol replied. "Didn't you just say she said she went on a date?" Roman pointed out. "Yes, but it was a lie," Carol clarified. "So she lied about going on a date, and now you expect me to believe she's telling the truth about not going on a date? I may not remember you or her, but I'm not stupid. I have to assume I took steps to protect myself." "I'm sorry, miss, but your 10 minutes are up. You'll have to leave now," a nurse interrupted, signaling the end of Carol's visit. 2 hours later, his other daughter arrived. "I've already spoken to you, haven't I?" Roman asked, feeling a sense of déjà vu. "No, that was my twin sister, Carol. I'm Linda," she corrected. "Don't you recognize me?" Linda asked, her voice trembling with hope. "I'm sorry, but not yet. You and your sister are very attractive young women. Were we on good terms?" "I understand that your mother and I are separated," Roman said, trying to piece things together. "We were on good terms," Linda confirmed. "Your mother played a prank on you, and before she could tell you it was a joke, you got attacked and injured your head. You started making moves toward divorce before you even knew it. You have to stop it, Dad." "I don't know what to do," Roman admitted, frustration evident in his voice. "I don't know if you're my daughter or not. I don't know who my wife is, or if I even have a wife. I don't think I should do anything before my memory comes back." "If that happens, do I have a lawyer?" he asked, seeking some clarity. "You have two, one for regular cases, one for divorces. You gave him a divorce license," Linda explained. "Maybe if I talk to him, it'll help jog my memory," Roman suggested, grasping at straws to make sense of his fragmented world. "Could you contact him or her and ask them to come and see me?" Roman requested. "Sure, anything that might jog your memory," Linda replied. "Dad, can you let Mom come visit you? It kills her that she can't see you and apologize." "I don't think I'll feel safe around her. Maybe later," Roman responded, his voice firm. "Mr. Strickland, I'm Chris Andrews, your family lawyer. Do you remember me?" Chris entered, looking concerned. "Is everything we're talking about confidential?" Roman asked. "Absolutely," Chris assured him. "Good. I don't have any amnesia. I'm trying to figure out what to do about my divorce. All I remember is asking you to give her more so she could move on without me, Roman confessed. That's right, Chris confirmed. She's been sued and given an attorney. Do you want to terminate the contract and stop the divorce? No and no. Can you investigate her alleged lack of visitation and let me know what you find? Roman instructed. I can hire someone on your behalf if you let me, Chris offered. Do that, Roman decided. He continued to pretend he had amnesia and kept talking to his daughters, ignoring their requests to see their mother and stop the divorce. He waited for a report from his attorney. The report came a few days later. According to private investigators, there was not enough evidence to prove whether or not she went on a date. The man she was with swears nothing happened, but he's married and may be afraid to tell the truth. It's up to you to believe her or not, Chris stated. I was afraid of that. Thank you for the information. I think it's time for me to get my memory back. I want you to continue with the divorce proceedings, Roman decided. Carol was the only one who heard him say her name from memory. Shortly thereafter, he told her that memories came flooding back to him, including the night of Ella's betrayal or deception, depending on what you believe. He agreed to meet with Ella. After hugs and tears, Ella began, Roman, it was a deception, a sneaky deception to get you to change. Doug and I only drove 1 block away, but when we came back, you were gone. How do I know that's true? Roman asked, skepticism in his voice. I can have Doug come in and tell you. He's the one who helped me pull this stunt, Ella offered. So I'm going to have to take the word of the man you cheated on me with to convince me that you didn't cheat on me. I'm sorry, but that dog doesn't hunt, Roman replied coldly. I tried to call you, but you left your phone at home. I sat and waited for you all night, but you never came back, Ella pleaded. Was anyone there while you waited? Roman questioned. Doug was there for a couple of hours, and then he went home, Ella answered. Somehow I'm sure he'll vouch for you, Roman remarked sarcastically. I waited to hear from you until the next day when I called your office. That's when I found out that you treated my fake affair like scorched earth. You looked like you couldn't wait to get rid of me, Ella said, her voice breaking. Why wouldn't I be? You told me to my face that you were going to cheat on me. You said you wanted another man, Roman retorted angrily. Ella felt the weight of her actions crashing down on her, realizing just how deeply she had wounded her husband. You told me to my face that you wanted another man in our house. I was devastated, but because I loved you, I wanted to give you what you wanted as soon as possible. Besides, I no longer wanted to be married to you because you were no longer honoring our marriage vows. Why prolong the agony? Let's just get a divorce. I don't want a divorce. I didn't plan to cheat on you, and I never have. I wanted to encourage you to fight for me and bring life back into our marriage. Obviously, I chose the wrong way to do it. I'm so sorry, Ella pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Please, Roman, stop the divorce and let's get our lives back together. I love you, she begged. Even if what you said is true, and I still don't believe it, you played a cruel, vile joke on me. I don't know if I want to stay married to a woman who does these things. Right now, I'm continuing divorce proceedings, and I'm going to move into my own apartment when I get out of the hospital, Roman stated coldly. Roman, this is such a waste of money. You have a house and a bed. I'll move to another room in the house for a while if that's what it takes to get you back, Ella offered, desperation in her voice. Visiting time is over, and I want to see my daughters, Roman said, signaling the end of their conversation. Ella was sent out of the room. The twins tried to support their mother, but neither of them could explain how much time their mother had spent with Doug that night, so it didn't matter to Roman. When it came time to check out, he moved into an apartment near his work. The divorce continued until Ella's lawyer demanded mandatory counseling for them, 12 sessions. Roman offered no resistance. During the first session, Ella poured her heart out. I love my husband very much. We had a wonderful marriage and raised 2 wonderful girls together. I think the empty nest syndrome hit him harder than it did me. I wanted to fill that void by spending more time with him doing different things, not just physically being together in the same house. Roman seemed to distance himself from our marriage. Our sex life remained the same as it had been when we had to have sex quietly so the girls wouldn't hear. Their absence didn't change anything for Roman. I decided to shake him into paying more attention to me. I talked a male friend from work into joining me in what I called shock therapy. One night, I pretended to go on a date with him. My beau and I drove around the block so I could come back and tell Roman it was a joke to get him angry about our marriage again. When we returned 10 minutes later, he was gone, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I waited until the next day when I called his office and learned that he had taken several steps to divorce me. A few days later, I learned that Roman had been robbed and was in a coma. When he came out of the coma, he didn't believe that my fake date was a ruse and that I wasn't actually seeing other men. He has been seeking a divorce ever since. I apologize for everything I've done to hurt him, but I still love him and want to fix our marriage. I apologize for my wrong actions and beg him to give me a second chance. Roman, how do you describe what happened? She's accurate in some of what she said, but she left out a few details. When her boyfriend showed up, she not only told me that she was dating him, despite my objections, but also stated that she hoped to spend the night having sex with him. At that moment, I realized that my marriage was dead. I decided it was my fault that our marriage was failing, so I wanted to leave as soon as possible. I left my home and hers so that she could have the man she wanted, and I could have the opportunity to start over. I took steps to separate us quickly. I gave power of attorney to an attorney because I didn't want to even think about Ella anymore, let alone talk to her. I would give her a generous divorce and move on with my life. I didn't know they were going to rob me, and I certainly didn't expect to be in a coma. When I came out of the coma, I didn't remember who I was. Sometimes I wish I had stayed in the coma and never recovered my memories of that night. Ella claims she didn't actually go on the date, but offers no proof. In my opinion, it's just as likely that she did go on a date and slept with this guy, Doug. I think she only changed her mind when she realized how this was going to turn out for her socially and financially. Now I'm being asked to believe that it was just a joke, and I should go back to living with a woman who didn't mind breaking my heart. Even if she is telling the truth, she is a wife who has proven herself willing to hurt me when she sees fit. How can I live with that? Every night when I come home, I have to think about what awaits me. A loving wife or a cheating wife on a date? It's better if we're divorced. She and Doug can live together, and I can try to move on. Sounds like we have a lot to talk about, the counselor said, noting the tension in the room. Everything seemed to be progressing until Ella brought Doug in for a session. Roman, I want to apologize for my involvement in the prank, Doug began. Ella assured me that everything would be fine. I had my doubts when she got in my car. I swear we only drove a block before we drove back to the house. She was shocked to find out you'd left. We found out you had abandoned your phone when we found it in your room. I stayed with her, waiting for you to return. Most of the time, she complained about what we had done and how much you meant to her. After a while, I left, apologizing again. Do you believe me now, Roman? Ella asked, her voice trembling with hope. His words certainly sound sincere, but maybe he's just a good actor, Roman replied, his tone filled with doubt. Roman, there seems to be nothing I can do to prove to you that it was just a joke. Regardless of the precedent, I will never make fun of you again, Ella vowed. Can't you just trust me? Let's see. You lied to me the other night when you told me you were going to spend the night with Doug and then claimed you didn't do anything. Now you're repeating that you're not lying. Further, do you want me to believe that you won't do anything like that again in the future? How do I know where the lies are and where the truth is? Roman questioned, frustration evident in his voice. It comes down to trust, Roman. If we're going to get back together, you have to trust me. If you can't do that, I'll agree to divorce you, Ella said, her voice breaking. The room fell silent, the weight of the situation pressing down on everyone present. The counselor spoke up, breaking the tense silence. I have a proposal. How about a prenup that stipulates if Ella does this again, Roman gets all the assets and the divorce? Would you be willing to sign it, Ella? Yes, Ella agreed without hesitation. Roman? The counselor asked, turning to him. I think I can try, Roman said, his voice filled with cautious hope. Ella walked over and hugged him tightly. Gradually, Roman began to return to their marriage. It took quite some time before he and Ella shared the same bed again, their interactions delicate and tentative. Over time, they rebuilt their relationship, spending more time on outings, doing chores together, visiting their daughters, and traveling. Their sex life even became more active than before the incident. Ella started to feel comfortable at home once again. One day, Roman called Ella and asked her not to cook dinner. He sounded excited, as if they were going somewhere special. He had to hang up quickly, leaving Ella curious. She remembered that his job was undergoing a reorganization due to a merger and assumed he had received good news about his position. When Roman entered the house, he immediately went upstairs. "I'm getting changed for tonight," he commented on his way up. Soon, the doorbell rang. Ella opened it to find a woman who looked about 10 years younger than they were, very attractive and professionally dressed. "Yes, can I help you?" Ella asked. "I'm here about Roman. We're going to a place tonight," the woman replied. Ella's mind raced back to the painful incident she and Roman had been trying to move past. She thought he had finally decided to get revenge. An idea formed in her mind, and she invited the woman in. "You have a lovely home, Mrs. Strickland," the woman commented. "Thank you," Ella responded politely. "Excuse me a minute. I need to tell Roman you're here." She called out, "Roman, your companion is here." His reply was inaudible, but she assumed he said he would be right down. Turning back to the woman, Ella was about to ask a question when she heard Roman coming down the stairs. She sprang into action, wrapping her arms around the woman's throat and choking her lightly. "The bitch who steals husbands," Ella snarled. The woman, who Ella had mistaken for part of a revenge plot, began to struggle. Roman shouted, "Ella, stop! What the hell is going on?" Ella started laughing. "I caught you trying to make fun of me this time. What kind of joke?" "This is my new merger manager, Amanda Briggs," Roman explained, horrified. "Amanda, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's gotten into her." Amanda frowned, looking at him with disdain. "I like to think my charges are normal people, both on and off duty. You can say goodbye to your new position if that's what you consider normal. I'll be sitting in the car waiting for you to take me back to the hotel." "Amanda, please give me a chance to explain everything before you do something rash," Roman pleaded. Amanda ran out the door, leaving Roman standing there, stunned. Ella sat on the couch, crying. "Thank you so much, Ella. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse," Roman said sarcastically, his frustration palpable. Roman's face turned red with anger. "Just when I thought our marriage was getting better, you ruined both our marriage and my job. That's it. I'm leaving to try to save my job. I'm not coming back to save this marriage," he said coldly, heading for the car. Ella ran upstairs, collapsing onto the bed, her body racked with sobs. "What the hell is going on? What have I done?" she cried out in anguish, her mind reeling from the turn of events. About 15 minutes later, Roman and Amanda returned to the house. Roman called Ella to come downstairs. With a serious expression, they began to explain that they had been playing a prank on her. Ella, overcome with relief and guilt, clung to Roman, sobbing and repeatedly apologizing. That evening, they all went out for dinner and a few drinks. Amanda shared how she had been afraid she would get hurt during the prank, but Roman's help had made it worth it. Slowly, Ella began to relax and even managed to share a laugh with them. When Ella and Roman got home, she went to clean up the kitchen before heading to bed. Roman went upstairs and immediately noticed something alarming. His automatic pistol, which he always kept locked up, was lying on Ella's nightstand. Upon examining the gun, he found that there was a cartridge in the chamber, and the safety was off. His heart dropped to his stomach, realizing the gravity of what might have happened. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the second chapter, and be sure to listen to the next story, because this story doesn't compare to what comes next.